So we are going to be reading the book Forbidden History, edited by J. Douglas Kenyon, and it's to do with prehistoric technologies, extraterrestrial intervention, and the suppressed origins of civilization. This is the article I'll be reading by J. Hoagland, Richard C. Hoagland, the ex-NASA scientist, and it'll probably take about 15 minutes for me to read the full article. It's an absolutely fantastic read, to be honest. It's really, really powerful stuff. More so than the previous article that I did. So this is the artifacts in space. And that's Richard C. Hoagland. So I've got the Star Wars theme in the background so that those who don't have the attention span can watch that, and those who do have the attention span can watch the thing. So you got two in one, which is great, isn't it? Artifacts in Space, page 282, for author Richard Hoagland. The trail of ancient ETs is getting much warmer. Since its discovery in 1981, a gigantic enigmatic face gazing upward from the Cydonia region of Mars has held out the tantalizing promise of scientific proof that intelligent life in the universe is not unique to Earth. Though photographed from a satellite 5 years earlier, the face had gone officially unnoticed, so the space expert Richard Hoagland, author of The Monuments of Mars, and his associates, indeed including many top scientists and engineers who felt anything but optimistic about the chance for an effective official follow-up, proceeded to launch their own investigation, which is absolutely fantastic because now obviously we know NASA is hiding information. So the fact that they've gone ahead and tried to do this private investigation is just absolutely music to my ears. The photos of the face on Mars and an apparent complex of ruins nearby were subjected to years of exhaustive research utilizing the most advanced tools of scientific analysis. The Mars mission, as the group terms itself, has produced more than enough evidence to argue plausibly that the objects of Cydonia are the remains not only of a ancient civilization, but also of one possessed of a science and technology well beyond our own. The startling possibility that such artifacts exist has created considerable public pressure to return to the Red Planet, and was cause for more than a little consternation in the summer of 1993 when NASA lost contact with its Mars Observer probe just as it was about to begin detailed photographs survey that could have proved the issue one way or the other. How long must we now wait until the argument can be tested? Well, perhaps not too long after all. As it turns out, the cherished concrete evidence that man is not alone in the universe may well exist in our backyard. Relatively speaking, as the Hoagland Group claims to have discovered in numerous NASA photographs evidence of an ancient civilization on our closest neighbour, the Moon, and in this case, if NASA isn't up to the verification job Hoagland insists that he and his backers are, the result could be the first privately funded mission to the Moon. If anybody can pull it off, Hoagland may be the man. For more than 25 years, a recognised authority on astronomy, space exploration, Hoagland has served as a consultant for all the major broadcast networks. Among his many valued contributions to history and science, his best remembered is probably his conception, along with Eric Burgess, of mankind's first interstellar message in 1971, an engraved plaque carried beyond the solar system by the first man-made object to escape from the sun's influence, Pioneer 10. Hoagland and Burgess originally took the idea to Carl Sagan, who successfully executed it aboard the spacecraft and subsequently acknowledged their creation in the prestigious journal Science. It was Hoagland who proposed the Apollo 15 experiment in which astronaut David Scott, before a worldwide TV audience, simultaneously dropped a hammer and a falcon's feather to see if it was true, as Galileo had predicted that both would land at the same time. Once again, Galileo was vindicated. Since the 1981 discovery of the face of Mars, Hoagland had devoted most of his time to the pursuit of scientific evidence for extraterrestrial intelligence. Atlantis Rising spoke with Hoagland the day after Hollywood's latest space epic Stargate opened nationwide to enormous audiences because the files deal with the idea of extraterrestrial intervention in Earth's history. Wanted to know what portents of any, if any, he saw. The problem with the movie, Hoagland said, is that the vehicle for anything interesting isn't there after the first half hour. It disintegrated into a kind of shoot 'em up with an awful lot of ends totally unfulfilled. But the film's quality or lack of it notwithstanding, Hoagland is encouraged by the public reception. The fact that the people are rushing to see this indicates to me there is almost an archetypal compulsion to know more, and if we put together the right vehicle, which we are attempting to do so, we may have a ready audience. Hoagland was alluding to a couple of film projects now in the talking stages based on the Mars and Moon work. The outcome hopefully will be both a scientific documentary and fictionalized treatment presenting some of the more speculative aspects of the research. Such matters, though, are not the primary concern. So as you can see, these are some of the pictures. I know it's not very clear, guys, but we've got one of the pictures there. Structure called the Shard, whose vertical structure casts a long shadow. Then this NASA photograph is from the Lunar Orbiter 3 star-like object. To the upper left is a camera registration mark. So I mean that is just one of some of the pictures that he's actually, NASA's own pictures. There's another image from NASA Apollo taken from a lunar orbit near the craters Oort and Tresnecker. This structure has been dubbed the Castle. And then you've got the other very interesting one, artist Tom Miller's conjectural image of what a shard site on the moon might look like. Uppermost in Hoagland's mind and in those of his associates are recent discoveries on the moon. In clear NASA photos, some nearly 30 years old, from both manned and unmanned missions from orbiters and landers, can be seen giant structures unexplainable by any known geology, what Hoagland calls architectural stuff, in sharp contrast to the Mars data where we have been constrained to look at 2 or 3 pictures of the Cydonia region with increasingly better technology, 3D tools, color polarimetric, geometric measurements. With the moon, we are data rich. We have literally thousands, if not millions, of photographs, yet with pictures taken from many directions, many different lighting conditions, angles and circumstances. Hoagland's team has produced stunning corroboration that all the photos are of the same highly geometric, highly structural, architectural stuff. In fact, he says in many cases the architects on our team now are able to recognize the standard Buckminster Fuller tetrahedral truss, a hexagonal 6-sided design which crossbars for bracing. I mean, we're looking at standard engineering, though obviously not created by human beings. The structure appears to be very ancient, battered to hell by meteors. It looks like it had gone through a termite school. It's been moth-eaten and shattered and smashed by countless bombardments. He says the edges are soft, fuzzy because of micrometeorite abrasions like sandblasting. Hoagland explains that on an airless world, there's nothing to impede a meteor from reaching the surface or reaching the structure on the ground. Nevertheless, he says we're seeing a prodigious amount of structural material spread over a wide area. The material is turning up at several locations. It looks as if we're seeing fragments of vast contained enclosures, domes, although they are not inverted salad bowls. They are much more geometric, more like the step pyramids of Biosphere 2 in Arizona. We're looking at something that is extraordinarily ancient, left by someone not of this earth, not of this solar system, but from someplace else. One of the most interesting structures appears to be an enormous freestanding tower, crystalline grass-like, partially preserved structure, kind of megacube, standing on the remnants of a supporting structure roughly 7 miles over the southwest corner of a central part of the moon called the Sinus Medi region. If all of this exists, one of the most important questions may be, why didn't NASA notice? If Hoagland is right, he says something funny has been going on. Indeed, recently Hoagland presented the lunar material at Ohio State University. In the months since, discussions have raged on the internet, Prodigy, CompuServe, and other online computer services. Many questions are now being put to him are coming from scientists and engineers within NASA, many of whom have had direct experience with the lunar program and have been kept in the dark regarding any ET evidence. Hoagland has passed on the present state of the research and asked for input, and he's left with the inescapable impression that, as he puts it, something incredible has been missed. As Hoagland sees it, there are only two possible explanations. Either we're dealing with incredible dumbness, in which case we spent $20 billion for nothing because we were there, took photographs, came home, and didn't realize what we're seeing, or we're dealing with the careful manipulation of many by the few. The latter may not be as implausible as it might be at first sound. In a system that is cornerstoned on honesty, integrity, openness, full disclosure, he explains that there are folks in there who are operating contrary to those precepts. They won't get caught because no one is suspicious. Actually, Hoagland has moved beyond suspicion into belief, and he says he can prove his point. The smoking gun is a report by the Brookings institution commissioned by NASA at its inception in 1959, entitled Proposed Studies on the Implications of Peaceful Space Activities, but in human affairs. The study examines the impact of NASA discoveries, American society 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Hoagland says on page 215, it discusses the impact of the discovery of evidence of either extraterrestrial intelligence, example radio signals, or artifacts left by the intelligence on some other body in the solar system. The report names 3 places that NASA might expect to find such artifacts: the Moon, Mars, and Venus. It then goes on to discuss the anthropology, the sociology, and the geopolitics of discovery, and it makes the astounding recommendation that for fear of social dislocation and the disintegration of society, NASA might wish to consider not telling the American people. It's right there in black and white. It recommends censorship. Now, that's what they've been doing all along, Hoagland says. Hoagland believes that the anthropologist Margaret Mead, one of the authors of the report, was responsible for the recommendations, which believes came out of her experience in American Samoa. In the 1940s, Mead witnessed the devastation of primitive societies exposed for the first time to sophisticated Western civilization. That experience so moved her that Hoagland so changed her perspectives that when she examined what ET possibilities she projected and mapped out that experience, she basically felt that if we even learnt of the existence of extraterrestrials, it could destroy us, but therefore people can't be told. Believing as he does that NASA and perhaps even the higher levels of government has been committed to keeping people in the dark regarding the reality of extraterrestrial intelligence. Hoagland is not very sanguine, that's a complicated word, about the chances of success for such high-profile programs as SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. They're a complete and absolute farce. They're a false front, Western town, he says. They do not mean what they say they purport to mean. They are a red herring. They are born to the Star Trek generation. In fact, Hoagland has become so dubious of government intentions on such matters that he suspects the entire alien abduction phenomenon is a misinformation campaign calculated to scare people off the subject. If there has been a policy to obfuscate and confuse people on behalf of the objective data. He reasons what would that policy do, and how far would it extend to the idea of ET contact. If you had few real contacts with someone who was trying to give us messages and trying to lead us to new insights, and the fear on the part of the government structure had been that this will destroy civilization itself, would not that government also put in place a program to misinform, to confuse, to politically spin in the wrong direction those few real contacts by submerging them in a sea of misinformation about contacts? Hoagland sees in the crop circle phenomena part of the evidence for benign extraterrestrial contact. The thing that makes them different from the monuments of Mars or the ancient cities on the moon, he reasons, is that they are occurring in the crop field here on Earth, and that they are occurring in the present time. He sees little doubt that the circles are not of this world. We simply do not have the technology, let alone the knowledge base, to construct the multi-leveled communication symbols that the crop circles represent. So that once you eliminated the hoaxes, he chuckles, if Doug and Dave hoaxed circles, they deserve a Nobel Prize. Hoagland resumes his thought. The level of sophistication of the information encoded in these symbols is so vast and so congruent, I can't even say that, with the lunar and Mars work, that you're forced to conclude that whoever the artists are, they knew a bit more than contemporary science and all the media, or the matter the government. At any rate, Hoagland's group is now planning an end run around the government's monopoly on ET-related space exploration information. The time has come, he believes, for a privately funded mission to the moon. Already investors have expressed interest. We're talking a few tens of millions of dollars, he says. Not really the price for the special effects in one major motion picture. We could go to the moon and get stunning live CCD quality color television images of the things we're seeing in the 30-year-old NASA still frames. Such a mission, if funded, could be launched within 15 months using new technology, and a solid fueled rocket. 500 to 600 pound payload could be delivered into lunar orbit, where it could provide stunning camera and telescopic live transmission capability. He says that the mission could even do more science. One group has expressed interest in sending a gamma ray spectrometer designed to survey the moon for water, which in Hoagland's scenario there now has to be. Well, yeah, we've already come to that. NASA has already admitted that there is water on the moon and I think Mars as well. The mere possibility of such a mission may already be forcing NASA to be a more open. Hoagland and other members of his group have recently received a front door invitation to view extensive previously unreleased film archives. The bureaucracy, he feels, is already moving to cover itself and forestall the eventual embarrassment of being proved out of touch, to say the least. Well, the establishment are obviously going to be. I mean, we're talking about the biggest cover up in the world's history, and on the subject of rockets and things, if you go to and you listen to Laura Eisenhower, she's actually claims that there is actually a Stargate, so there's no need for them to use rockets. They just have teleportation technology. Now again, this is just all theories, and I haven't been there myself, but I definitely strongly feel that there's now more mounting evidence. There's definitely something going on, and all the different evidence now is coming together. Now we're making the links. Richard C. Hoagland is the guy who's bringing in the evidence, physical evidence with the pictures and the scanning and the photographs and videos and everything. And then you've got the other whistleblowers are coming forward. You've got, as I said, Laura Eisenhower. We've been obviously given information in movies like Total Recall, where they're talking about, and obviously you've got, that was in the 1990s, and then now we've got Elon Musk, who wants us to go back to Mars, and he's talking about some kind of brain chip that can actually be used as well, and it's just fascinating, isn't it? And what I'll do is I'll link up the extra websites and stuff in the description below, and yeah, it's really exciting, isn't it? It's a lot of exciting, interesting information, and I think it's important that people keep their minds open and continue to learn and find out more. I do believe that whatever is happening up there is also affecting us. And money that we're paying to the council in council tax and in other forms, it may be going to these black budgets. And so it could explain where our money is going, because obviously bills are going higher, and maybe the governments are actually channeling our money into these type of dark, it's called the dark fleet actually, so other dark projects, black projects that are sort of hidden and kept secret. Okay, guys, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, as I said, take care, and may the force be with you.